Your cat has invented a language just for you. Not for other cats, for you specifically. And the sounds they've been making aren't random requests or mindless noise. They are a communication system your cat has been refining, adjusting, and personalizing based on your reactions, sometimes for years without you ever realizing it. Most owners spend years assuming their cat meows because cats just meow. But here's what animal behaviorists have discovered that almost nobody talks about. Adult cats almost never meow at other cats. Not in the wild, not in feral colonies, not even in multi-cat households during friendly interactions. The meow, as you know it, was essentially invented for humans. And more specifically, it was invented for you. Most people assume cats meow because that's simply what cats do. It feels like a reflex, like purring or needing something hardwired in from birth that doesn't mean much beyond "I want something." And that assumption, while completely understandable, has caused most owners to miss something enormous. Because if meowing is just a reflex, if it's just noise, then you stop listening to it carefully. You stop noticing the differences between sounds. You stop realizing that your cat has been having a very specific, very intentional conversation with you every single day. And most owners go their cat's entire life never understanding a single word of it. We'll get to the most important part of all this later, why the very first time your cat chose to meow at you matters more than any sound they've made since, and what that moment was actually telling you. But first, let's start with the thing that makes this whole story so genuinely strange. Here's the thing. Cats aren't actually that vocal by nature. And once you understand why they became vocal with us, but not with each other, everything about how you hear your cat is going to change. One, and this is the part that surprises most people when they first hear it. Your cat, as a fully grown adult, almost never meows at other cats. Spend real time watching cats interact with each other, really watching, not glancing, and you'll notice something striking. It's almost entirely silent, a slow blink here, a tail position there. A subtle shift in posture that communicates volumes without a single sound passing between them. Adult cats have a rich, layered, complex social language, and none of it requires vocalization. In the wild, and in feral colonies operating today, adult cats rely on a sophisticated system of scent marking, body posture, facial expression, and eye contact to navigate their entire social world. A raised tail signals friendly intention. Flattened ears signal fear or oncoming aggression. Slow, deliberate blinking is an act of trust so significant it now has a scientific name: the affiliative eye narrowing response. Researchers at the University of Sussex confirmed in a 2020 study that cats deliberately use this slow blink both to signal their own trust and to respond positively when humans offer the same signal back. All of that complexity communicated without a single sound. The reason is practical and ancient. In the wild, sound attracts attention. Not just the attention of the cat you're addressing, but the attention of every predator within earshot. Unnecessary vocalization is a survival liability. So cats evolved to keep quiet, to communicate through channels that only the intended recipient can interpret. Meowing at another cat would be, in feline terms, almost embarrassingly loud. Clumsy, like shouting across a quiet room when you could have simply made eye contact and been understood. Here's what most owners don't realize. Your cat didn't stop meowing at other cats because they stopped having things to say. They stopped because other cats already speak their language fluently, and then something remarkable happened. They looked at you, this large, mostly deaf, emotionally expressive creature who brings food and warmth and opens doors, and they made a decision. They were going to find a way to reach you. Stay with me, because the next part is where this gets genuinely strange. 2. Here's the part that changes how you think about your cat's entire history. Cats didn't meow their way into human homes by accident. This story goes back somewhere between 9,000 and 10,000 years to the early agricultural societies of the Middle East. Humans had started storing grain in large quantities for the first time. Grain attracted rodents, and wildcats followed the rodents directly into human settlements. What happened next is what makes this story remarkable. Because, unlike dogs, Cats were never selectively bred for companionship or for work. They were never trained into a relationship with humans. They chose to stay. They domesticated themselves by deciding, over many generations, that proximity to humans was worth it. And during that long, slow, patient process of self-domestication, something subtle began to shift in the cats that thrived. Cats that were less fearful of humans, that tolerated proximity, that occasionally produced sounds which got human attention. Those cats did better. They received more food, more warmth, more protection from predators. And the humans around them responded better to cats that seemed to be communicating. Not because humans understood what the cats were saying, but because sound triggers a deep, instinctive human response. We turn toward it. We pay attention. We act. Feral cats today, cats living with minimal or no human contact, almost never meow as adults. Multiple field studies across different countries have confirmed this pattern consistently. The meow, in the form you hear it every day, is not an ancient behavior that existed before human contact. It is a behavior that emerged from human contact, refined across hundreds of generations of cats, learning very slowly and very collectively what worked. Think about that for a second. Your cat is not doing something ancient and hardwired into every cat that has ever existed. Your cat is doing something their ancestors invented from scratch, tested relentlessly, and perfected specifically because of people like you. And here's what makes this even more fascinating. That process didn't stop thousands of years ago. It's still happening in your home right now. 3. And this is the one that most owners never fully sit with. Your cat's meow is not a generic cat sound. It is a sound your cat has specifically designed for you. In a moment, I'm going to show you what that really means for your relationship with your cat. But first, here's the part most owners never notice. Researchers studying domestic cat vocalization have found something that should make every cat owner stop and reconsider every sound they've ever half listened to. Cats don't use a consistent set of sounds across all humans or all situations. Individual cats develop distinct, personalized vocalizations, specific sounds for specific needs, adjusted and refined over time based entirely on how their particular owner responds. Your cat may have one meow for hunger, a different one for wanting to be let outside, another entirely for when they want your attention and nothing else, and a completely different sound for when they're in pain or distress. And those sounds are not random. They have been calibrated specifically to you, to your responses, your schedule, your patterns of behavior, your individual level of attentiveness. A 2019 study from the journal Animal Cognition found that experienced cat owners could identify their own cat's vocalizations with significantly greater accuracy than they could identify vocalizations from unfamiliar cats. Your cat's voice, the specific sounds they make at you, is, in a very real sense, yours. It was built for you, shaped around you. Your cat watched how you responded when they made certain sounds and adjusted. The pitch that made you get up fastest. The specific urgency that made you open the food cabinet without question. The quiet, persistent sound that made you sit down and give them exactly the attention they were asking for. They learned all of it, and they kept what worked, and they let go of what didn't. To your cat, this is careful, patient, attentive engineering aimed at one goal, making sure you understand them. And here's what most people miss. Entirely the fact that your cat invested that effort at all is itself a profound statement about you. Cats don't do this with other cats. They don't customize their signals for individual feline relationships. They operate within a shared language that doesn't require personalization because every cat already speaks it. The fact that your cat invented a version of themselves, a vocal version specifically for you, that's not manipulation. That's intimacy. And if this is making you hear your cat differently, if you're starting to listen with new ears, hit subscribe. It's the best way to help other cat owners understand what their cats have been trying to tell them all along. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. And I want you to hold on to something before we get to the next section. Imagine a cat, let's call her Rue, adopted at age 4 from a shelter where she had been surrendered not once, but twice. She arrived in her new home and spent the first 3 weeks in almost complete silence. She ate, she watched, she explored carefully, methodically, always staying near an exit. But she never meowed. Her new owner assumed She simply wasn't a talker, quiet cat. Some cats are just like that. And then, on a Tuesday morning, approximately 23 days after she arrived, Rue walked into the kitchen, looked directly at her owner, and let out one short, careful, uncertain meow. Her owner looked back at her. Rue waited. Then she did it again. What was happening in that moment, I'll come back to, because it has everything to do with what we're about to discuss. 4. Here's what most people find genuinely uncomfortable when they first hear it, because it suggests your cat understands you at a level most owners don't expect and has been using that understanding in ways you probably never detected. Some cats, particularly those with long experience living alongside humans, produce vocalizations that fall within the same frequency range as a human infant's cry, somewhere between 300 and 600 hertz, depending on the individual cat and the specific context. And this is not a coincidence. Researchers at the University of Sussex, led by Dr. Karen McComb, recorded and analyzed what she called the solicitation purr, a specific type of sound cats produce when they want something urgently, most often food. Embedded within that purr is a high-frequency cry component that activates the same neural circuitry in humans that an infant's cry does. We are biologically wired to respond to sounds in that frequency range. It bypasses deliberate decision-making. You feel a pull toward it before you've consciously registered what you heard. You're already moving before you've decided to move. Now here's the question worth sitting with. Did cats calculate this? Did they consciously reverse engineer human neurobiology? Of course not. What happened is far more interesting than calculation. Cats that happened to produce sounds in that frequency range got faster responses from the humans around them. They were fed sooner, they received more attention, they had better outcomes. Over generations, many generations, across many thousands of individual cats, those traits became more common because they worked. Evolution did the math that the cats never needed to do. In the wild, this connects to something even more fundamental. Kittens meow at their mothers using exactly those frequencies, because mothers are neurologically primed to respond instantly. What domestic cats discovered, slowly and collectively, is that adult humans carry a version of that same priming, and they have been using it gently and persistently ever since. To your cat, this isn't strategy, it isn't cunning. It's simply the most effective path they found to say, I need you to hear me right now. And the fact that it works, the fact that you actually do respond every time, almost before you realize, it is part of why the bond between cats and humans runs as deep as it does across so many different cultures, so many different centuries. Cats found a way in, not through the front door of rational communication, but through something older and quieter, something you carry in your biology, whether you choose to or not. Most owners go their cat's entire life never realizing they've been responding to a sound that was, in a fundamental sense, built for them from the very beginning. 5. And remember earlier when I said there's one thing most owners wish they'd understood sooner? This is it. This is what I've been building toward. We've talked about how cats learn to meow, how they refined it across thousands of years, how they customized it for individual humans, how they discovered frequencies that reach something ancient in us. But none of that fully answers the deeper question, the one that actually matters. Why do they bother? Other cats don't need this. Feral cats don't do this. Wild cats living entirely outside human contact don't do this. The feline social world runs perfectly well without any of it. So why, after everything, after all that effort, all that adaptation, all that careful calibration, does your cat still choose to talk to you? Here's the thing most people miss, and it's the thing that changes everything once you finally see it clearly. Every time your cat meows at you, they are making a choice. A deliberate, considered, individual choice to reach across the gap between two entirely different species and try to be understood. They are not meowing because they cannot help it. They are not meowing out of reflex or a biological compulsion. They are meowing because they have decided, based on who you are, based on everything they have observed about you over months or years of careful attention, that you are worth trying to reach. This is what I was talking about at the beginning. This is the thing about cats that their deepest behavior keeps revealing over and over, if you know how to look. They do not invest in relationships they don't trust. They don't customize signals for strangers. They don't spend weeks in patient, watchful silence unless they are gathering the information they need to decide whether someone is safe. And the meow, this strange, invented, human-specific vocalization that no other cat in any wild population needs, is the clearest evidence we have that your cat has made a decision about you. Not just that you are useful, that you are theirs. Now, let's go back to Rue. On that Tuesday morning, 23 days after she arrived in a home she had every reason to distrust after being surrendered twice by people she had presumably also trusted, after learning through direct experience that humans can be unpredictable and that safety can disappear, Rue walked into the kitchen and meowed. One uncertain sound, aimed directly at the only human in the room. And then she waited. She wasn't asking for food. She had been fed an hour earlier. She wasn't in pain. She wasn't trying to go outside. She was doing something that required, in feline terms, a kind of courage most people never attribute to cats. She was deciding whether this human was worth reaching. She was extending the first line of a conversation she had never needed to start with another cat in her life, because cats don't need to. She was attempting something that had to be learned, that had to be chosen consciously, that only made sense if the relationship on the other side of it already meant something to her. Her owner answered her, just said her name softly, took one step in her direction, and Rue's tail lifted, just slightly, at the base, and she meowed again, smaller this time, almost quieter, as if the first one had been a question, and this one was relief. A 2017 study published in Behavioral Processes found that cats show significantly increased attachment behaviors, specifically toward owners who engage responsively with their vocalizations. Not just owners who feed them or provide physical care consistently, but owners who actually respond when their cat speaks to them. Owners who treat the sound as real communication. The act of answering your cat's meow, of turning toward it, of acknowledging it with your voice or your eyes or your body directly strengthens the bond between you in ways that other forms of care alone don't replicate. What Rue was testing in that moment wasn't simply whether her new owner would respond to a sound. She was testing whether she had found someone who would listen, someone who would answer, someone who would treat what she had to say as something worth responding to. And here's what most owners never get to know, because they never think of it in quite these terms. Every cat that has ever meowed at you was doing some version of what Rue did that morning. Every sound your cat has ever aimed in your direction was a choice made specifically toward you. Not at the floor, not at the wall, not into empty space. At you. Because in the entire world of signals available to them, the tail positions, the scent markers, the silent slow blinks, the ear angles, all of it, they went looking for something that would cross the distance between your species and theirs. And they found it. And they kept using it, and they kept aiming it at your face across months and years of your life together. That is not a small thing. In the world of cats, being spoken to is not the beginning of a transaction. It is not about efficiency or resource management. It is the beginning of trust. It is a cat deciding in the most active way available to them that you are someone worth being known by. So the next time your cat looks at you, really looks at you, opens their mouth, and delivers whatever sound they've decided to offer you today, you're not hearing noise. You're not hearing a reflex shaped by hunger or convenience. You're hearing something that was built across thousands of years of one species trying to reach another, refined across the entire length of your relationship with this particular animal, aimed at you and no one else, in a language that exists only because your cat decided, somewhere along the way, that you were worth inventing one for.